Hi guys, Josh here, and I have a love-hate relationship with open world games. While I love the idea of exploring these beautiful, expensive worlds, I hate a lot of the mechanics that are typically associated with the genre. Once in a while, however, a game does manage to rethink these mechanics in clever ways and to avoid some of their most common problems. One of these games is Caravan Sandwitch, released this September 12, 2024 for PC, PS5, and Nintendo Switch. During my first playthrough, I kept noticing how it was different from my previous experiences with open worlds, and I'd like to share with you 10 reasons why this world of Cigalo worked for me. This video is sponsored by Dear Villagers, the publisher of Caravan Sandwitch. Thanks to them for supporting the channel and letting me play early so I could prepare this video for you. If you are interested in this game, feel free to check it out using the link in the description. And now, let's dive into what makes this post-apocalyptic, Provence-inspired open world enjoyable. We'll start with an obvious one. It is in the name, not sandwiches, we'll talk about those later, but the caravan. Having a vehicle in an open world is nothing new, we've seen that before, but here you get the caravan very early on, and it practically becomes an extension of yourself as you spend a good chunk of your adventure driving, and if you're not driving, you're never too far from that adorable yellow machine. The fact that you have a vehicle as a main method of transportation from beginning to end eliminates some of my biggest annoyances with open worlds. Things like having to run over long distances and then slowing down every 10 seconds because you're running out of stamina, trying to go a bit faster by rolling or jumping all the time. There is none of that here. You just hop into your caravan and don't expect realistic physics here, it is pretty arcadey, but it controls very easily and gets you where you want to go quickly. Not only do you have a vehicle readily available to drive around in, but the world is designed in a way that is pleasant to navigate. In some games, you have cliffs that force you to walk all the way around, shallow rivers that you can't even put your feet in, and sometimes, despite your destination seemingly so close, it turns out to be quite far or a headache to get to, and as much as I like a puzzle, Caravan Sandwich will make you think at certain moments, making your way through the map is a breeze. Because exploration is mostly done with a vehicle, most areas are large and open. It's also pretty desertic, so often you can just go straight towards where you have to, and even when there are obstacles, it never takes too long to drive around them. If you need to go down a cliff or something, no problem, you can easily just jump down, whether on foot or with a caravan, and keep going without dying or getting stuck. You can even drive in the water. Of course, it's not as fast, but this caravan is a tough one and it will easily bring you from point A to B without you getting frustrated about the map. And that map feels like it's just the right size. It's not too large that it takes forever to get anywhere. In fact, you can get from one extremity to the other within a few minutes, but it's also not too small that it becomes boring. It's easy to backtrack, go to different places quickly, but there is still a lot to see and do. For these reasons, I never felt like I needed a fast travel mechanic. You do unlock fast travel in the second half of the game, so it is there, but I was perfectly fine just driving around everywhere. I don't know if that's a hot take, but I feel like fast travel often defeats the purpose of an open world. For me, traversing the world and exploring it should be a big part of the fun, but if players end up relying on fast travel because the world is too large or tedious to navigate, there are probably a few things to fix with your game. Caravan Sandwich is not like that at all, thanks to its nice mid-size world that is actually fun to explore. Another reason why I think exploring is fun in this game is due to how the developers put an emphasis on making it non-punishing. Don't get me wrong, I love a challenge, but the fact that there's no fall damage, there's no health at all actually, no combat, no time limit, just no pressure, and I feel like that makes Caravan Sandwich a very comfortable and chill experience. If you fall down a tower, you don't respawn all the way back home and waste your precious time, you just keep going and climb back up. No one is trying to get rid of you as you explore, you don't need food, you don't need to worry about your character being cold or warm, you don't need to craft things to survive. It is an open world game about exploration, and you can tell that they made it so you could fully focus on the exploration part and do so at your own pace. One thing I have been noticing in games lately is that a lot of them are trying to do too much, trying to do everything. They take the best mechanics from other games, a bit of open world exploration, a bit of crafting, some survival elements, some combat, maybe a touch of base building, and while that is good in theory, and sometimes in practice, often you end up with so many features that are fighting against each other and taking away from what should be the core of the game. They could have easily given us a health bar because that's what most third-person open worlds do, but I don't think it would have added anything to the experience. In fact, it would have probably detracted from the pure exploration. I think that less is more for most games, especially indie games, and that Caravan Sandwich truly benefits from focusing on the exploration and getting rid of other mechanics that, while you may typically expect to be there, like health or stamina, would get in the way of what Caravan Sandwich is trying to do. My next point is a small thing, and it's also in line with this idea that because something is in most games doesn't mean it should be in yours. I love how it's always daytime in Caravan Sandwich. I do appreciate a good day and night cycle when it brings in interesting mechanics, but I've played so many open world games where I'm exploring, I'm having fun, but then the game gets really dark, I can't see what I'm doing anymore, and I either have to go back home or just wait until the sun comes back up. That is so annoying, and it breaks the flow of the game. The world of Cigalo is always bright and sunny. After all, it's inspired by the south of France. You can always see what you're doing. You're never interrupted by factors that are out of your control, and once again, that lets you as the player do things comfortably and at your own pace. I mentioned the caravan at the very beginning of this video, but let's go back to it as I have more to say. With the press of a button, you can seamlessly teleport to it. So let's say you drive to somewhere and you have to get out of your caravan to explore the area by foot. You do some climbing, you pick up a few collectibles here and there, and it's totally possible that you end up a bit far from your caravan. In many games, you would have to make the choice to either continue without it or to walk all the way back. Here, you just press one button, you have to wait a few seconds so you don't do it by accident, and there you are back in your caravan. This is such a convenient feature, and it really lets you focus on seeing an area freely without having to worry about the logistics of how you're going to get back home or if you're getting too far from your car. I know some games will let you, for example, call your horse or summon a vehicle, but I like the idea here that you are the one being teleported back to a familiar place, instead of bringing your car to a place you may want to get out of. It also means that you're never too far from your caravan throughout the entirety of the game, and I don't know, there's something very comforting about that. You're never in the middle of nowhere with nothing. As you progress throughout the main story, you also unlock tools for that loyal caravan and your character, and this makes for a great way to revisit different areas. While the world is not too big, in each area you will find things that you can't interact with at first. Doors that can't be opened, zip lines that you can't use, so you will do whatever you can, move on to the next area, and then when you eventually unlock the upgrade, you will remember all of these doors and zip lines, and you'll want to go back to see all of the new things that you couldn't initially reach. So instead of having a huge world with tons of areas you only visit once, the map is designed in a way where you return to an area multiple times, but each time you will be able to do a bit more, making it almost like a brand new experience. It's a good way to keep the world small and easy to navigate, all while continuously having new things to play with. But the very first tool you will be adding to your caravan is the antenna, and that thing is amazing. Like in most good open worlds, there is a lot to see and collect here, and as much as I love exploring, checking out every corner of the map and trying to get everything, I don't like that fear of missing out some games can make you feel. When I go to a new place, I like to be able to know easily if there are still things to find around or not. So that antenna lets you scan your surroundings, and it shows you exactly where are important items like components that you need to collect or machines that you need to activate. It highlights them, and you can then mark them so you don't lose track when you hop out of your van. The antenna scans through walls as well, so as you drive by buildings, you can do a quick scan and know right away if you still have things to do there. I found it so useful, and a lot of my time driving was just spent with my antenna turned on and scanning everything. I also like that it is something you activate manually, because I've played games where, for example, you see all of the collectibles on the map or radar, and that can be overwhelming, but just seeing them with the antenna, you do it when you need it, and you could also play without it if you want an extra challenge. While we're on the topic of finding collectibles, I like that there are a lot of them to find in Caravan Sandwich. Progress in the main story is done by collecting these components, electronic parts of various rarity levels and colors, which you can spot with the antenna, but they also emit light so you can see them quite easily with your eyes. For side quests, you have a bunch of different things like flowers, mushrooms, snack bars, and 30-year-old sandwiches. I told you there were going to be sandwiches, so you won't easily run out of things to collect. Like everything else, the game hits just the right balance between too many and too few, But it encourages you to check every room, get on top of all of the buildings, take your time to look around while you're driving. If you think there might be something at some place, there probably is. It feels satisfying to pick up all of them, and everything has a use at one point, so you're constantly making progress. Speaking of progress, the game doesn't overstay its welcome. It can be easy for developers to pad out an open world game by adding a crazy amount of little things everywhere, and no matter the size of the world and how beautiful it is, at one point it gets tedious, at least for me. Caravan Sandwich is divided into chapters, and progressing to the next chapter is done by collecting a certain quantity of components. So you get these components through side quests. You can also find them by exploring on your own. You can do a bit of both. There is a sense of freedom within each chapter as to how you will get these components. So for example, if you're missing a few and you're stuck on a side quest, you can just hop in your caravan, turn on your antenna, and scan for components you may have missed in other places, making it quite easy to progress. The main story is also not too long, taking me 7 hours to complete. I will be able to add a few hours to that by trying to finish all of the side quests and collect a few things that I'm missing, but I personally feel like it's a good length for what I look for in an open world game like this one. You have indie games like A Short Hike, amazing but very short, AAA games like Assassin's Creed that can feel never-ending, and with Caravan Sandwich, you kind of get something in between where you've got a lot to keep you busy, the fun doesn't end too quickly, but you also don't have to spend 40, 50, 100 hours picking up items to feel accomplished, satisfied, and ready to move on to your next adventure. So these are 10 reasons why the open world of Caravan Sandwich works well and is actually enjoyable to explore and spend time in. At least for me, so obviously these points are all subjective. One thing I like might be something you dislike and vice versa. So I would love to hear what are the things you look for in a good open world. Have you played Caravan Sandwich? Is it a game you've been looking forward to? Let me know, and thanks again to Dear Villagers for sponsoring today's video. Feel free to check out the game with the link in the description. Leave a like and subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you all in the next video.